At the break of dawn, a new day begins for the Ummah. But beyond the rising sun lies a greater awakening of thought, remembrance, and knowledge. A reawakening of the soul and mind toward divine purpose. At its foundation lie three sacred pillars: Iqra, the command to read and seek knowledge; FIKR, the invitation to reflect and question; and Zikr, the remembrance that anchors the soul. This is the story of how these three principles, deeply woven into the fabric of Islamic education, can renew our vision, strengthen our identity, and secure a brighter, more united future for the Ummah. The word Iqra is often translated simply as read and recite, but its meaning runs deeper. It is a divine command to engage actively with knowledge, to seek understanding, to awaken the mind and heart. Iqra is an invitation, an urgent call from the Almighty to every soul to open the pages of revelation, to open the doors of wisdom, and to embark on a lifelong journey of learning. It is through Iqra that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ received the very first word of the Quran, a moment that ignited a legacy of knowledge, inquiry, and spiritual enlightenment. Grayson Brock, an American content creator, took up the challenge to read the entire Quran in one sitting. 18 hours of reading, that's an intense journey into the heart of Islam. Expecting to find terrorism or violence, Brock was surprised to discover a message of peace, reverence, and kindness. He distilled three central themes from the Quran: reverence to God, self-restraint from worldly desires, and kindness to parents. Having also read the Bible, he found the Quran to be more concise and direct, and deeply committed to pure monotheism. Brock's journey reminds us that Iqra is not just reading, it is a transformative experience that challenges preconceptions and invites seekers, Muslim and non-Muslim alike, to confront truth. If one voice can find clarity through Iqra, then the Ummah, by fully embracing this divine command, can build a brighter future grounded in knowledge and learning. FIKR means reflection. In Islam, it's not just thinking, it's thinking with purpose, reflecting with intention. It's the habit of pausing before speaking, before acting, especially when facing right and wrong.
For what reason? To worship Him. Therefore, one sin that you commit, do you know that Allah has every right? Allah has within every right to throw you into hell forever for it. Did you know that? Why? Because you disobeyed your reason of creation. Allah has the right to throw you into Jahannam. We need to think about this when we sin, that if Allah wishes, He could end your life right then and toss you into Jahannam forever for it. And you could not complain. What would you complain about? Because you did it. You sinned. You did what you weren't supposed to do. So you think that in that condition we deserve paradise? It can't be earned. It can't be earned. It's given. It's gifted.
What we just heard from UMMAH Evans, who is a well-known Islamic speaker and revered, is a powerful reminder of Allah's justice, a truth many forget in moments of weakness. FIKR, in its deepest form, is the act of pausing to truly think before we act, to recognize that every choice we make carries weight. Allah has every right to punish us, but in His mercy, He gives us time, signs, and countless chances to turn back. Reflection isn't just about avoiding sin, but it's about awakening the heart before it's too late. Because to reflect is to recognize Allah's power and to choose obedience, not merely out of fear, but out of sincere love and submission to the most just. FIKR sharpens the mind and softens the heart, and in that reflection lies an essential foundation for educating a future-ready ummah. While Iqra educates the mind and FIKR sharpens it,
so
Zikr purifies the soul. It reminds us that true knowledge is incomplete without humility before the Creator.
And we want those two things to be together. The Prophet ﷺ said, the example of the one who remembers Allah and who doesn't remember Allah is like, anyone know? Is like the living and the dead. So it's a very strong statement. This shows us how important it is, right? All of this stuff, you just stack all these things one on top of another. It's a very strong case that making dhikr is something that's very important.
And everything feels like it's falling apart when the heart is heavy and the path unclear. Zikr is our return. Through remembrance, we find strength and clarity. Zikr steadies the heart, teaching us that true power comes from awareness and trust in Allah. A society that forgets Allah loses its direction, but a society that remembers Allah, Zikr builds compassion, unity, and resilience. The challenges facing the Ummah today are immense. Social division, educational decline, economic disparities, but the solutions are already in our foundations. By consolidating Iqra, FIKR, and Zikr in our educational systems, we raise a generation that is spiritually grounded, intellectually equipped, and socially responsible.
With the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad we mentioned Sahih Bukhari, hadith number 5027 of Bukhari in the old edition, volume number 6, hadith number 545, where Hazrat Usman, may Allah be pleased with him, said that our beloved Prophet Muhammad said, "Khayrakum min ta'allam al-Qur'ana mu'allaman." That best amongst you are those who learn the Quran and teach it to the others. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
Why does the ummah suffer so much? Because we have diseases that we need to rectify amongst ourselves. At an individual level, we need to purify ourselves. As a community, we need to purify ourselves. We need to remove the barriers between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that serve as spiritual barriers, barriers to our success in this life and barriers to our success in the next. Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change that which is of themselves.
The future of the Ummah doesn't begin with grand plans and worldly power. It begins within, with Iqra, the seeking of knowledge, with FIKR, the habit of deep reflection, and with zikr, the remembrance that purifies the heart. To build a brighter future for the Ummah, we must return to our roots, not as a retreat into the past, but as a launchpad into a future guided by divine wisdom.
Allahu, Allahu, Allah.